While we get started here, we do want to say thank you to our sponsors. We have Derek back here with Field 59. They've been with us for 2 years now, providing a live stream and a video recording of every 1 million cups. And it's a great value add for our presenters because they get a copy of that. And for people in the community that are unable to make it out to 1 million cups in person, they get to see who the presenter is and what's happening in their community. So if you're not signed up for our newsletter already, I'd encourage you to do so. It only comes out once a week, so you won't get spammed, but you'll always be able to see who our future presenters are, and you'll have that link to the live video feed. And then we do have the library donated this space to us, so we're thankful to them for providing such a cool venue. And Anchor Bank Old National Bank is our latest sponsor for the next 6 months. So we're really grateful for them to supporting the entrepreneurial community. We've got the great coffee from Crescendo there. Before we go into introductions, just a couple quick announcements. Anybody here going to 100 Thanks on Saturday night? Yay! If you haven't heard about it, I'd encourage you to come out. Drew and I are going to be there, and we're going to be making a special announcement at the end of the evening. They're very special. We'll be together on stage, so yes. Something we only get to do every Wednesday, and it's not a real stage. So
you know, we should have like a raised dais for us.
That'd be pretty cool, but I might fall down a couple times. Okay. I got
taking our show on the road too, so we're workshopping some jokes today.
He's got all the jokes up. So anyway, so come out. There's also going to be an after party at Red Sushi. It's $10. It'll be a fun night. So I'd encourage you to do that. And then we also have Digital Healthcare Conference. If anybody here is going or in the healthcare space, that is tomorrow at the Monona Terrace, and there's still an opportunity to sign up. So if you're interested, shoot me an email. Any other announcements from you?
No.
Perfect. Then I'll get started. I'm Rachel Neal. I'm with Carex Consulting Group, and I'm one of the organizers of 1 Million Cups.
I'm Drew Corson. I'm an attorney with Knight Boucher. I focus on working with startups and securities law, and I'm also one of the organizers of 1 Million Cups.
Ryan Waite with Neckerman Insurance and Analyst Providers.
Melanie Conklin with Congressman Mark Pocan's office, and I am joined today by my friend Tessa from Oregon High School, Tessa Riley, right? And she is job shadowing, learning a little more about politics, and she's a senior and interested in going into this field, and we're going to see if we can talk her out of that for her own good.
All right, I'll go. My name is Aiden Winnery. I am an insurance broker for M3 Insurance, specializing in employee benefits.
My name is Adam Bush-Emart. I'm a graduating third-year law student at UW Law.
Brown Dahlman's, Wisconsin Angel Network.
Catherine Lee, Ophthalmology.
I'm Derek Gebler with Field 59.
Brian Robertson, Software Sales and Marketing.
I'm Dan Anderson with Baker Tilly.
Jeremy Udovich with Tyco Solutions. We provide scalable software engineering teams, IoT engineering teams, and data science teams to hopefully local companies.
I'm Jed Rower. I'm a tax and corporate lawyer with Godfrey & Cobb.
Nicole Justa with N29 Capital Partners.
I'm Alan Dines with WISP Partners.
I'm Victor Stanford with Cicero Logic Solutions.
I'm Devin Renner. I do the marketing for True Coffee Roasters, and I help with some of the social media for Remugio.
I'm Finn Casisto. I'm one of the co-founders of Remugio. And I'm Alper Sarakaya. I'm a recovering PhD student and part of Remugio.
Okay. My name is Paul Hansen. I'm the CEO, one of the co-founders of Remugio. So this will be a traditional slide deck pitch presentation, but feel free to interrupt if you have questions as I'm going through, and then we'll have time for Q&A afterwards. So Remugio is an online video platform that allows people to gather second-by-second feedback on the content of videos. This is Alan. Alan's a small to medium-sized business owner, and his company produces video content. They've either been producing video content for a while, or like a lot of companies, they're starting to work more with video as video is getting cheaper and easier to work with, which is why it's taking over the internet. but he needs to know that the videos he produces are effective, that they're connecting with customers, that they're engaging for his existing customer base. Is the content he's producing connecting with the demographic that he thinks he's targeting? Did women in their 30s like the beginning of the video but got confused by something at the end of the video? This kind of insight is important for him, both if he's advertising to new customers, but also if he's trying to create engaging content for existing customers, or he's producing how-to training videos. There's a variety of use cases. Remugio allows users to upload a video to our platform, send it out to a large sample size, and gather second-by-second feedback broken down by demographics and what kind of response they're looking for from their audience. The traditional way that companies would get this information is through market research firms. So they would contract with Cantor or Nielsen, but those methods, things like focus groups, are very expensive, tens of thousands of dollars, and very slow. You might have a 6 to 8 week turnaround time. Here's how our platform works. A user uploads a video, selects what kinds of reactions they want from their audience. So you might want something traditional, the like and dislike button that we're all familiar with, but let's say I'm uploading a political ad. I might want like and dislike, but if it's a political ad, I'm also going to include a skeptical button and an angry button. Then I'm going to choose what I need to know about my audience. It might be common things like age and gender, but depending on what I'm uploading, I might ask what political party people are part of. I might ask any question, any sort of demographic or psychographic information. Users get a unique link to the video, answer the questions that I asked of them, and as they're watching the video, they're just reacting second by second to what they're seeing. Every time they click a reaction button, they see that their votes are being recorded by our system. If they feel strongly about something and they're double-clicking the angry button, their vote shows up as a stronger vote. They can also pause the video and add comments, which are also time-stamped. So if you want to specify, I'm disliking something here, but it's not what the person is saying, it's how they're saying it, you can add a comment being more specific. The user who uploaded the video gets all of that data back. So the political ad that I uploaded, I find out that it tested well with certain age groups, but it was unpopular in certain locations, which means I can then determine how I spend my advertising budget targeting that ad in specific areas. We offer the platform as a monthly subscription, and then there are add-ons on top of that. If you wanted to distribute your content to an existing email list that you had, we don't charge for that. So if you're making a how-to video for your employees and you want to send it to 1,000 people, we're not going to charge per distribution. If you wanted us to distribute it to a sample that you don't have a connection to, that's an add-on. We're also now building an API option that would allow us to integrate our platform with existing platforms that companies are already using. So think things like Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey. Compared to traditional market research, the advantages that we're aiming for are speed and affordability primarily. So whereas traditional market research might take 6 to 8 weeks, be tens of thousands of dollars, we ran a test Monday for a client in Minnesota who wanted us to send a 3-minute video to 100 viewers. And we got that in an hour. At the end of the video, if we're sending content to an untargeted random sample, we have a pop-up that says, if you'd like to take more surveys on this platform, give us your email address, we'll be in touch. And the conversion rate, the opt-in there is about 40%. Ultimately, if we have enough video content and enough viewers responding to videos on our platform, eventually we could build models of user behavior so that down the road, you might be able to upload a video and our platform could analyze and critique the video instantly, automatically. If it has enough information in the system about how different groups of demographically divided viewers have responded to different kinds of content, Eventually, you could build an artificial intelligence platform, and our team's capable of doing that, that could analyze content instantly. The market that we're addressing is huge. Market research, the traditional market research, things like focus groups and surveys, which we've all participated in at some point and are familiar with, is a $20 billion industry in the US. But we're thinking bigger than just traditional advertising. While traditional advertising and market research is $20 billion, almost 80% of colleges use video lecture capture already, and that's growing. So we're thinking of starting with more traditional advertising content and then expanding into other forms of video content like lecture capture. So you could imagine a professor standing at the front of the room, somewhat like the room that we're in now, and as someone is explaining something, they're getting feedback on which groups of students understood how I explained this topic, who was confused by it, who's bored right now. Is it just the seniors? Is it just the first year students? Is it the history majors? Is it the biology majors? Who's not connecting with the content? We've started working with a wide range of companies locally. We went through the G-Beta Accelerator over the summer, and then we went through the MadWorks Accelerator during the fall. And through those two programs, we've connected with a lot of local companies to do beta testing for our software, and we're getting great positive feedback. This is our team. My name's Paul. My PhD is from the UW, from the English department, where I focus on new media. My co-founders are Finn and Albert, who are both computer science PhDs focused on machine learning and data viz. I'm Paul, and we are Remugio. Thank you very much. Questions? Yeah.
How much of the value to your target customers is the analytics, and how much of the value is being able to provide them with a population of viewers or a population of kind of folks to view the ads and comment on them?
It depends on the use case. So we've worked with some customers where they don't have an audience. Maybe they're a new company, or they don't want to test their content with their existing customers. So they absolutely need us to distribute the video survey to a random sample. But we've also worked with customers who have an audience, have an existing email list, and they're just looking for a way to get feedback from that existing population, and this is the platform that allows them to do that. So it depends on who's doing the test, what the content of the test is, a couple of different factors. Yeah?
What are your biggest challenges right now for growth?
One of the biggest challenges is actually related to the wide range of customers that we've been working with. So we have worked with some traditional advertising tests. We've also worked with how-to videos. We worked with shorter content, longer content. So one of our challenges is building a platform that is flexible enough that it can be used by different people for different reasons and different ways, and our platform can adapt. That's probably one of our biggest challenges. In addition to all of the challenges that every startup experiences, which is finding more customers, getting more beta feedback, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
With that in mind, what did True Coffee use it for? I saw True Coffee up there.
I can let Devin answer that question.
So the reason we sort of got connected, aside from Rachel and her goal to connect everyone in town, was that I do a lot of video for the company. I try to do one a week. I usually fail at that, but we get a chance to sit down. For me, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing video-wise is more sort of native advertising driven. So it's not, I'm not posting a video that says, hey, buy my coffee. I'm posting a video that shows a 4-year-old pretending to be a barista. So trying to get feedback on that kind of thing from not only my customers, but people who have maybe never even heard of me before, the applications of that and the value of that to me was huge, because now I can put something out there, I can see, okay, this demographic, so 30-year-old women love this. 50-year-old men got confused by it. Millennials thought this was hilarious. Baby boomers got confused. And so being able to understand that specifically and say, okay, who are the bulk of my customers that are coming into the cafe? Who's buying from me retail? Can I use this sort of thing to target that? You know, and understanding who it's working for and who it's not was hugely invaluable for, you know, working with a mid-sized business that doesn't have $50,000 to spend, you know, for Nielsen or Ipsos or something like that, or you know, a focus group. For this, spending $130 a month is for any small or mid-sized business is just it's such a huge tool to kind of have.
I would add to that, one of the great pieces of feedback we've gotten is that sometimes it's actually not the data that people are looking for. And this gets back to your question, where sometimes it's just the fact that if you ask someone for feedback, they pay much closer attention to what they're watching. So even if you're running a video survey and you're getting feedback, you're figuring out who likes what, who gets confused within, you're also, by asking that question, you're getting people to watch your content closely. So in that case, it's customer engagement more necessarily than feedback. Alan, you had a question?
In the whole ad agency sector, there's huge disruption, partly because of guys like you. But I wonder if you can talk a little bit about other efforts, other kinds of disruptive features that are going on in that industry and how you might be connecting with them. I'm thinking of a company like DigSite right here in town, obviously doing a whole different approach to focus groups. But I wonder if you could just talk a little bit, I guess this kind of broadly hits the topic of competition because you're having to get attention from those guys in the ad agency world. Although what we just heard was really cool because you can actually sidestep all of that. I doubt True Coffee would have approached an ad agency.
No, I never would have thought about it.
The barrier to cost is just way high and probably more generic or general than what your specific interest was, and you're hitting right on. Anyway, sorry for the long question, but.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different questions there. To start with DigSite, we've spoken with Monica from DigSite, and we initially thought that they were more of a competitor for what we are doing. But after speaking with her, we came to realize that it's much more likely that we would end up collaborating with them. For one thing, they're focused on much smaller sample sizes and much more qualitative results. They're also not really doing anything with video. So we might end up being able to work with them because we work with video, because we're much more quantitative, and because we can work with large sample sizes. The advantage that they have is that they're building online communities that are very targeted and focused. So if you were trying to do a test with just men between 30 and 40 who live in a certain region, drive a certain make of car, they would be able to put together that kind of a community. It's much more expensive, it's much slower, but they're playing in a very different space than we are.
Well, the way we collaborate with them is through something like that API option too. That makes it a lot easier for potential collaborations there because it makes it easy for someone like DigSite to be able to integrate our software with, like, they don't want to spend the money and the time developing the same sort of thing, right? So if they can easily integrate something like that, that's an easy win for partnership.
And so they can also expand your test audience.
Absolutely.
They're not the users, they're the guys that actually watch the videos and give the feedback.
Right, and to get the second half of your question related to smaller companies like True Coffee, nobody's going to take iPhone footage to a market research firm and have a focus group look at it. But you could do that with our platform. So if you're working in a small business and you're making funny 2-minute videos with your smartphone and it's bad video quality and it's bad sound quality and it's just kind of a goofy thing to get people engaged, you could put that on our platform. Rachel.
So is there any, and sorry if I missed this, is there any reward to the person who is viewing the videos? Do you ever incentivize people who are providing their feedback?
Depending on the use case, yes.
Okay.
So if the test we ran Monday for a bank in Minnesota, they wanted 100 people that were not connected in any way to their bank, not existing customers. They said, find us a random sample. So we use crowdsourcing platforms to find that sample, and we pay people to watch the video a very small amount of money. So a 3-minute video plus a handful of open-ended questions, 50 cents. And so even a sample size of 100, which you could never do with a focus group, ends up being incredibly affordable compared to traditional market research.
How do the people get the money from you, like the 50 cents?
Through the crowdsourcing platforms. So there's a
Okay,
couple of
that's what
different really big crowdsourcing platforms. Amazon runs one that has somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million people on it. So we set up a test, we connect it to, in that case, Amazon's platform, and they handle all the payments and everything.
Okay.
But if you were doing something where you were sending a how-to video to your sales team distributed all over the world, we're not going to charge for that, and also the people watching the video aren't going to get paid for it because it's part of their job. If you were doing something like a small business where you wanted to incentivize people in some way, like provide a coupon code for watching the video, you could also do that. So you could say, we're True Coffee, we're Ian's Pizza, we're whoever, watch this video, provide feedback at the end of the video, here's your half off your next order coupon.
Cool.
Other questions? Yeah.
You guys knew this was coming. Have you used it in politics at all, political advertising, messaging, tested that at all?
We've run some internal tests on political ads. So traditional television, short form content. We would be really interested to run some tests on longer form content like a stump speech. I think it would be really interesting to take a 10-minute video. And again, in that case, it doesn't need to be really high production quality because it's the content that people are paying attention to, not the form. But I think that would be a really interesting test. And I think it would work well because in a lot of cases, campaigns have an email list.
Right.
So distribution could be fairly targeted, fairly accurate, fairly relevant to what you're trying to figure out. And you could test through iterations. So you could video a 5 or 10 minute speech, test it, get feedback in an hour, record a new version, change how you explain a certain thing, change what you talk about for the first 2 minutes, take something out, send it back out, do another test. You could be on version 3 or 4 by the end of the day.
With the same group that you were?
You could use the same group, or you could do however you wanted to run samples, yeah.
And is there a way that a campaign, I mean, campaigns are obviously, unlike a business like Devon has, you know, they only exist for a certain amount of time, although that is getting longer and longer, it seems. But so there's a way that someone can subscribe, you know, a campaign and be a part of it, and when they go away after the election, not be.
Right.
Although I can also see applications here for offices. I do communication, and I would love that kind of feedback on something like our message.
Yeah, so
it's in the state assembly.
It's a totally different use case between a campaign, which is temporary and
Right.
building towards something, versus an existing political office. We actually have started speaking with Polco, that is based here locally, presented here last week, where an elected official might record a 10-minute explanation video about some issue that they're working on, send it out to their constituents, get feedback. So again, like Digsite, Polco might be a local company that we can partner up with because we work in a complementary way to what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, in the back.
Have you identified any potential acquirers, or is that not really on the radar at this point? We're not even in the plan ever? I mean, just
I would say it's further down the road, and I think it connects to the diversity of customers that we have, where if we're working with political campaigns, and we're working with True Coffee, and we're working with schools testing educational content, because we have that diversity of customers, it changes who our potential acquirers would be, but it means I think that there's a number of them. Yeah.
I saw when your presentation started, there was a slide for Mary Burke. That must have been during her campaign for governor. What did her campaign use it for?
That was an internal test that we ran in partnership with the ad agency that made that video. So that was a DC-based ad agency that we ran that test long after that campaign was over because we wanted to test something that was not active in a current campaign. But we were testing, I think it's a 1-minute television ad, and we asked age, gender, income, and I think we asked location.
Political party.
And political party. And what we got back was really interesting because it confirmed, when we sent it out to a random sample of people, it confirmed that when you sort by gender, it skews the age slightly younger. So if you sort by just female viewers, it skews slightly more Democratic. If you sort just by Democratic viewers, it skews slightly younger, slightly more female. So it confirmed a lot of the accuracy of our sample.
What kind of attributes were they looking for? Like interesting, boring, things like that?
I think we had skeptical and angry on there.
Skeptical.
And at the end of the video, that's a 1-minute ad, she starts talking about all of the jobs she's going to bring to Wisconsin, and there's a spike of skeptical.
Oh.
So, and then you can divide that by, are these people Democrats or Republicans? We've also tested startup pitches. And startup pitches are fun to test because they're all about the same length and they follow a formula. There's the same pieces in the same order. And when the person pitching a startup company gets to the point where they start talking about how much money their company's going to make, how quickly, the skeptical goes through.
Especially if Brown is the one.
Yeah, you're just angry.
Which I think, I'm kind of joking, but I think would be a really fun use for this platform because you could take a pitch and send it out to investors all over the country and do a wide distribution and find out. And you could ask that as a demographic question. You could say, are you an investor? Are you a lawyer? Are you an entrepreneur? What category do you fall into? And then when you see that big spike of skeptical, if it's the investors who are skeptical, that tells you something different than if it's other entrepreneurs who are skeptical. Yeah.
So how much money is your company going to make and how quickly?
Oh, billions. Billions within
Next
a
weekend.
year? Yeah, next weekend? There you go, yeah.
The honest answer to that is we're not charging actually the monthly subscriptions right now because we're in a public beta. We charge currently for when users source viewers, but that is the only thing we charge for right now.
Right, so that gets to what we're looking for as a company right now, which is more people using the platform. We've been running beta tests for the past few months, and when we started, we were getting a lot of requests for specific features. We've built those features, they're now integrated into our platform, and we're getting fewer requests. So we think we're probably getting to the point where we have answered the most pressing needs of our customer base. Right now, we're offering this as free beta. We're only charging for things that cost us money. So targeting a random sample for distribution, we charge for that. But what we're looking for is more people using this, and again, in different industries. So we would love to see long-form political tests. We would love to see more education tests. And there's probably things that we haven't anticipated. That's kind of been the story of this company for the past couple of months, is people coming to us and saying, I work for an insurance company, we're producing videos and we need feedback on them. And we would never have expected that. We didn't know that insurance companies were producing how-to videos, but as it turns out, some of them are, and some of them don't understand why their customers don't understand their videos and who their customers are. So we're useful for them, but we would never have expected that, so. Yeah.
Does every viewer have to fill out a profile before watching the video in terms of demographics?
Yes and no. So currently, every time a viewer gets a unique link from a company running a test that says, hey, can you watch this video and provide us some feedback, they answer a few questions. But it's relatively short. It's typically, age, gender, and something else.
Sure.
Eventually, we'll build a two-sided marketplace where you'll log in, and if you've seen a video before, it's already going to have all of your common demographics like age and gender. You don't need to log in with your Facebook account or anything because what we're doing is large sample sizes and it's quantitative. So we don't care what somebody's name is. We don't care about their individual identifiable data. You would already have age and gender and all of that stored. If there was something really specific that that test wanted to know about you, like how many pairs of shoes you buy in an average year, you're gonna have to answer one more question about that.
Gotcha.
Other questions, yeah.
Yeah, just along the lines of this last couple of questions, I think you're absolutely on the right track. At this stage, the big challenge I think you've got from the standpoint of sustainability of the company is figuring out which of these areas you're going to really want to focus in on, and at this stage it would be probably crazy to pick just one and do it because you're going to learn new things as you go along. But at the same time, you know, do as broad a approach as you can to a variety of different possible customer groups, but you're going to have to zero in and say, okay, this particular one is where we're going to get the best leverage, where we can actually, the market is there, the pain, you know, part of those customers is there. And I think when you lock in on that, that's the time when you're going to have the best results with investors for getting traction on, you know, the answer to that other question, how much money are you going to make and when? But I think at this stage, just the way you're doing it is really right on.
Right, and one of the interesting things there is that if we're charging a monthly subscription, and there's one customer who, because of the industry they're in, doesn't produce videos very frequently, maybe once a month, and there's somebody else who's producing a video a day, they might be paying us the same monthly subscription, but the person producing a video a day and sending out a lot of tests is piling a lot more information into our system. So they're more valuable to us as a customer in the long run and more valuable to potential investors because they're building the intelligence side of our platform much more quickly than the once a month user.
Right. At the same time, think of it pricing in terms of the value you're providing to those customers too.
Right.
So if you've got one customer that subscribes monthly and only does a video a month, that's a certain amount of value, but if they're doing 10 videos a month, maybe there should be some kind of a ratchet effect. It's such and such per month, but then for every video, it's a, you know, ad hoc charge apart from whatever may be your costs in securing the payments to the user or to the viewers. But again, I think that's all something you can work out as you get into it.
To try to do a better job of answering that same question than last night at MadWorks. I think one thing we've talked about before is as we build out this backend and this API, we have talked about the possibility of having effectively different products where we fragment our market, where we have, say, like Remugio monthly or something like that, and then Remugio turnkey was the word I was thinking of yesterday or something like that, right? So like where then maybe it's something like maybe an ad agency would be more interested if they're not going to run them very frequently. Maybe they're like, I just want to give you $2,000 right now to do this or something like that. That would be great. Maybe they're not as valuable to our intelligence backend or something like that in the long run, or to data collection in some sense. But there is a possibility that we could break it apart into multiple different products. The one thing we worry about in that case is like it probably doesn't work as well to make it all one uniform product that has different options, because then it looks a little bit weird if it's like really cheap monthly or $5,000, you know, something like that, like, or you know, whatever. That I'm sort of rambling at this point, but that is something we've been thinking about, and part of that is, like you said, we're currently doing the scatter approach, looking at a lot of different potential customers and hoping we can find that one or two maybe that we can really hone in on.
To kind of add to that, we constantly find there are audiences that we didn't think about. So a couple of weeks ago, Paul and I went out to Madison Media Institute, and we're just kind of chatting with a group of students, and some of them were sort of focused on more, you know, had made some short films, and some others were doing music, and you know, kind of started talking about that as audio, you know, is something that just hadn't been considered. So if you're a musician and you're putting together, you know, some sort of demo, and it's like, you know, I want to know what my potential audience thinks of this song, you know, or, you know, kind of this track, or just different parts of different music. And so the applications for this thing are seemingly endless at this point. So I think it's, you know, finding the end of that road first, you know, before anything else as far as zeroing in.
And that gets back to what I was saying a minute ago, that the unanticipated customers has been kind of the story of our company, where we had considered something like a podcast, where, because this is how they test podcasts for editing, they have a focus group that listens to a half-hour podcast, and then they find out that the majority of people think that the interview section goes too long, and they shorten it. You could use this platform to do that with a much bigger group and much faster. So we had considered that. We hadn't considered a musician recording 20 songs and figuring out which 12 should end up on the album, or figuring out who's going to buy the album, where they should be advertised, or different versions of the same song, and figuring out that the longer version is more popular, or more popular with the audience you're trying to reach. You can also test multiple different pieces of content in order to line them up. So if you're testing a half-hour television show and a bunch of advertising, then you can figure out, okay, we thought that this television show appealed to this audience. As it turns out, it does, but it also has this secondary audience. So we should pair it with these ads, but also one or two ads that appeal to the secondary audience. So you can match content by doing multiple tests. Yeah.
You know, on your site, you have all those, you have like 8 videos
Mm-hmm.
that we can watch, and I see that one here, learn to read Korean in 5 minutes.
Dan just like to learn how to read Korean.
I did.
That was a fun test.
Anybody else knows that we could have a conversation. But it's kind of interesting, the dislike was very flat until the 3-minute and 20-second mark.
Yeah.
So what happened? I'll watch it
He's
later.
teaching you the K sound in Korean, and the example he uses is Kim Jong-il. He probably should have used kimchi. It might have been more popular. It might have bothered his audience less. So that's exactly the kind of test that we're doing.
Okay.
He teaches 3 or 4 different phonetic sounds. Banana is one, Samsung is one, and then he's trying to teach the K sound, and he chose an unwise example for the K sound. Yeah.
And maybe you say this, but who are your major competitors?
It's a tricky question who our direct competitors are. In a sense, this died, I have a competitor slide. In a sense, traditional market research firms like Nielsen are a competitor in the sense that if you have video content and you want feedback on it, they'll do that. There's a company called Brain Juicer in the UK, silly name, multi-billion-dollar company. So Nielsen, Ipsos, Brain Juicer, that's the traditional sector. Really expensive, really slow. There's also some sort of do-it-yourself companies. These are the newer, online, faster, cheaper. They don't work with video. So things like surveys, but no video. Then there's a couple of companies that are newer and very high tech, and they're doing things like, I'll watch a video on a laptop, and the webcam in the laptop is tracking my eye movement, or it's tracking my facial muscles to figure out whether I look surprised, or which section of the screen I'm looking at most of the time. Those are really interesting, and it's cool technology, but it's kind of a blunt tool. What does my face look like when I intend to purchase a product? And most of the time, if I'm watching a video on a laptop, I have my hand on my face, or I'm paying attention, but I'm looking somewhere else. So some of that is interesting technology, but it's really expensive, and it's not nearly as flexible or customizable as what we're doing. One of the things that we've found is that people are used to the like and dislike button. They're familiar with it, they're comfortable with it. It requires no explanation. When we send out a video to a random sample of people that we've never met, we don't have to explain how to use this or how it works.
And
They
they're
just
quick
get
to
it.
push it too. Like an average user will click a button 10 times in a minute. So we have 100 people, like that test we ran on Monday, we got 2,000 votes from 100.
Right.
And it's not even just the like and dislike button. People love emojis, and like it's all just emoji driven, right? So
Right.
like,
And people get it right away. The confused button is very self-explanatory. The confused emoji, everybody recognizes it. They know which button to click when. And we've seen that across really every test we've done, is one click per person about every 7 to 8 seconds. Whether it's a 30-second video or a 10-minute video, it depends what the content is. So we get a nice even distribution of votes from beginning to end from all different groups of people.
So we usually end up by asking you what we as the community can do, but it sounds like you're just trying to build a critical mass of use. And I guess the follow-up to that is, how can we do that? What's the easiest way to get connected with Remugio?
Tell people what we do. If you know anyone working with video or anyone who, as I said at the beginning, could start working with video. We've had a lot of people who 5 years ago wouldn't have used this platform because they weren't doing anything with video. But the fact that now I have a video editing studio and distribution platform in my pocket, most of us do, and it's free. So it doesn't necessarily need to be professional content. It could be, and it doesn't necessarily need to be advertising. We've worked with people who are doing things like how-to videos, or employee training videos. So there's a lot of stuff that's possible now that wasn't 5 years ago. And there's a lot of companies who are just now starting to work with video, and they're working with video in interesting, non-traditional ways. So I think the biggest help for us would be talk to people you know that may be just starting to work with video, or you think should be working with video, want more feedback from customers.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul. I think Paul and Finn and Hopper will stay around and chat with you for a little bit, but we're done for today. Thank you so much for Field 59 and 100 State and Old National Bank. And thank you so much to all of you. This is a great crowd. We've had a really good run the past few months, and I think we're just going to keep on going as long as you keep showing up and telling your friends. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you guys would, if you would like us on Facebook, and there's a really cool podcast that explains a little bit more. If you want to share that, that would be wonderful as well.
I'll put us on Product Hunt.
Yes. Yeah.